So today we're diving into a really powerful and honestly pretty unique way of looking at life, all drawn from the teachings of Don Juan Matus. And let's be clear, this isn't about swords or armor or anything like that. We're talking about a different kind of battle, the one inside, the struggle for personal power and total awareness. Let's get into it.
Just let that sink in for a second. Have you ever felt that way? You know, like a leaf, just kind of getting pushed around by whatever's happening, by other people, by your own moods? Don Juan says this is the default for most of us. But, and this is the good part, he offers another way, a path to take that power back. And here you can really see the split, right? On one side, you've got the average person who, as Don Juan puts it, whines and complains. They feel like life is just happening to them. Their whole life is just one big reaction. But the warrior, they're deliberate. They're not stuck, not pinned down by what others think or by their own emotional roller coaster. You see, the real fight isn't against the world. It's all about mastering yourself.
Okay, so the whole journey kicks off by facing the first and maybe the biggest hurdle of all, fear.
I love the way this is framed. A warrior doesn't pretend fear isn't real or just try to stuff it down. No, they go with fear. They treat it like a necessary companion on the journey. The path to knowledge is a battlefield, and you've got to go in with your eyes wide open, totally aware of the dangers, but with this rock-solid purpose that you're moving forward no matter what.
So the secret here isn't about becoming fearless. It's about acting in spite of the fear. First, you just admit it's there. You're scared. Okay, then you defy it. And that doesn't mean you fight it. It just means you keep taking that next step, and the next. And eventually, that fear just backs off. You haven't killed it, but you've shown it who's in charge. And what you get in its place is clarity.
And once you have that clarity, that's when the next stage begins. This is the inner work. It's all about dethroning the self.
You know that little voice in your head, the one that's constantly narrating your life, telling you what this means, what that means? Well, Don Juan says we literally hold our world together with that inner talk. For a warrior, the very first step to seeing things as they really are, to really perceive the world directly, is to silence that chatter and just experience reality without that filter.
Now, this one's fascinating. Think about it. How much of what we do is dictated by trying to be consistent for our friends, our family, our coworkers? By erasing your personal history, a warrior frees themselves from ever having to explain their actions. They become totally fluid, unpredictable. Like Don Juan says, nobody is angry or disillusioned with your acts. And above all, no one pins you down with their thoughts. That's real freedom.
According to Don Juan, pretty much every time we feel offended or get lost in sadness or feel sorry for ourselves, it all comes from this bloated sense of self-importance. A warrior sees right through that. They see it for what it is, just self-pity. And by dropping it, they become light, they become fluid, they're free from having to protect this fragile ego. I mean, when you have nothing to defend, you can act with absolute freedom.
So, after you've faced fear and started dethroning the ego, how does a warrior actually act in the world? Well, that brings us to the outer work, the art of impeccable action. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. Act as if? Isn't that just being fake? But it's not about that. It's about being decisive. To a warrior, the world is a complete mystery. You can never, ever know all the variables. So instead of being paralyzed by doubt, a warrior just acts, with purpose, with confidence, trusting their own personal power to guide them even when they're facing the great unknown.
And these are the principles that guide every single action. Impeccability isn't about being perfect. It's about giving your absolute best to everything you do, no matter how small. Detachment lets you go all in without being crushed if you fail. Stalking, that's the art of understanding people so you can stay fluid, so no one can ever really pin you down. And courage? Well, that's just what happens naturally when you lose your self-importance. When you've got nothing left to lose, you become incredibly brave.
All right, next up, we get to what might be the most mind-bending and transformative idea in the entire warrior's path, recasting our biggest fear into our ultimate advisor. So who is it? This constant companion, this guide that keeps a warrior sharp, focused, and impeccable. It's not some wise old mentor. It's not a spirit. It's something much, much closer to home for every single one of us. Yep, that's the key. For the warrior, knowing that you're going to die isn't some horrible thought you push away. It's the very source of your power. It is the lens that you view every single action and every single decision through. A warrior literally lives as if death is right there on their shoulder, watching.
And that constant awareness just cuts through all the nonsense, all the petty concerns, the self-importance, the trivial stuff. I mean, if this could be your very last act on Earth, are you really going to waste it being offended? Or are you going to make it impeccable? Death is the ultimate advisor because it doesn't leave any room for regrets.
So, after all this work, this awareness, this discipline, what's the final reward for a warrior? What's the point? Well, it's one thing: total freedom.
And let's be super clear, this reward is not something external. It's not about conquering your enemies or controlling the world. The whole point of the path is to lead to one single place, an internal state of being. It's freedom from the tyranny of your own ego, freedom from the world that everyone else tells you is real, and the freedom to finally perceive the true, incredible nature of the universe.
And this quote just wraps it all up so beautifully. The goal isn't to escape being human, it's to embrace all of it, the terrifying parts and the absolutely wonderful parts. The warrior stands right there at the intersection of those two forces and holds them in a perfect, powerful balance.
And so, we end right where the warrior's path always begins, with this one, simple, powerful question. Knowing that this could be it, that any moment could be your last. What are you going to choose? How will you act? That is the path of the warrior.